All right, so this next presentation is how to make money as a real estate investor in a hot real estate market, which is obviously the market that we're in. During this presentation as well, I'll do the legislative update, so I'll do some of the changes that our Texas legislature has put into effect in the last legislative session that affect wholesales, and I'll also do kind of an old, a very old update for some of the legislative issues as they surround lease options, because I know some of you guys who are probably just moving here from other states, you could use lease option in other states. You cannot really use lease options here in Texas, but I'll kind of explain what that law is, what it means to you, and where to get more information about it should you choose. And then I also put in the last slide here, just talks a little bit about the tax update and some of the major changes that affect us as both homeowners and as real estate investors. So we'll go over all those things during the presentation tonight. And then I noticed they brought in some food. So I think it's like chips and dips and stuff like that. Guys, please feel free to grab those anytime over the course of our presentation. I don't mind you guys getting back there, eating, snacking. I will just ask, please don't get into a conversation, because that's just going to distract me and then make me ask you to have your conversation outside. Is that fair? Yeah. Yes, Mom. It's okay, it's okay. So some of the strategies that we use, and Bill talked a lot about this in his presentation, but for us, and one of the key phrases or key terms I thought is so cute that Phil made up about our investing is we call ourselves strategically agnostic, right? So we will look at any strategy based on what's the best fit for both the seller in that particular situation, as well as what is the best fit for us in terms of how we can make money as a real estate investor in that situation. So what we found is a lot of investors, they come into real estate investing with just one strategy, and this is the only thing that they know or the only thing that they do. And what I see from a lot of those investors is when the market is going up and they're using that strategy, yeah, it works like gangbusters, it's brilliant, congratulations. But when the market starts to go down, then they start to say, oh crap, the thing that I had been doing and been doing so successfully, well, that's not working anymore. So what do you do when something's not working anymore?
Change.
What do you really do?
Panic.
What did you say?
Panic.
Panic? What do you really do?
Hold on.
Say it again, Matt? Double down. So in the last market cycle, when it changed really dramatically, we kind of, Phil and I looked at each other and we said, well, listen, we're hard workers. We're going to outwork this. And so we went and we took our head and we just kind of hit it against the wall until we realized, man, that's not working, right? And we were solving for the wrong problem. So one of the things that one of my colleagues taught me several years ago was this. Your job as an entrepreneur is to look for the disruption in the marketplace. To solve for that disruption in the marketplace, put a process around that, and solve for it as much as you can while keeping your eyes on the field to look for the next disruption, right? That is your job as an entrepreneur. That is how we make money. So you guys have to look for these different disruptions. Right now we have several disruptions going on in our particular marketplace, and you guys have to solve for them to be successful in the type of market that we're in now. But you have to be eyes on to look for the trends and look for the inflection points as the market starts to change again, to adapt and adjust your strategy so that you can continue to do what many of you guys came here tonight to do, not just for the next year or two while the market's up, but for the long term, even as the market changes and evolves, right? So for Phil and I, for Phil, he hasn't had to take a paycheck from anybody since 2003. For me, it took me a little longer. It took till 2004. But at this point, I am completely unemployable. My resume is in some version of DOS that even the smartest engineers in this room couldn't even resuscitate. And I don't want to have to do that, right? So as a result, I'm going to stay a student of the market. I'm going to adapt and create different strategies so that I can solve for where the seller is and where I can make money as a real estate investor. And that is what has kept me from going back to work for anybody else since 2004. And it's made me really happy as a person and in life and in business and financially. But again, so all of these different strategies we'll talk about tonight, we use them all opportunistically. And what does that mean? So again, we let the seller dictate, or the seller's situation, the seller's equity, the seller's motivation, the laws that are going on at that particular time. We let that dictate how we solve the problem and how we're able to make money as a real estate investor from that. Right now, of course, we're really very comfortable doing some of the longer lead strategies. This is redeveloping and rezoning. And if anybody has done redeveloping and rezoning in the city of Austin, you know that that is not just like, oh, you just call them up and say, hey, yeah, I want to build 8 houses instead of 2. You know, and they say, yeah, let me just write that right up for you. No, they take you through a 6 to 12 month minimum, in some cases, project before you're able to get that done. So when the market's going up, can you make those kinds of bets? Can you be in a project that long? The answer is yes. But when the market starts to go down, you can't do those exact same types of projects. You have to be really recognize where we are in the market and where we're going. Because so I know we are not in a hockey town, but what is one of Wayne Gretzky's great quotes? I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where the puck is going. And that has never been more true than in the real estate business, because when we buy stuff, we're not just in and out in a few weeks or a few months. We're in and out usually over 4 to 7 or 8 months. Talk to our hard money lenders over here, and they'll tell you, well, our average loan is probably in that range, right? That's how long it takes. So you have to know not where the market is today, but where the market is going to in the future, so you can make decisions based upon that. Does that make sense to everybody? Using hockey analogies. Great. And you guys are getting them. Awesome. So this is an example of the market cycle. So usually when we talk about the market cycle, the historical market cycles have been 3 to 5 years up, 1 to 3 years down. 3 to 5 years up, 1 to 3 years down. Where we are right now, our market turned around at the lowest point in our market was summer of 2011. And then from summer of 2011, we looked nowhere but up, okay? So we have been in an up part of the market cycle for about 7 years now, right? Which is a little scary because, Shanoa, you just said, the market cycle is 3 to 5 years up. We are way past that 5-year limit. We are in an unusual part of the market cycle. And I will tell you, in the last part of the market cycle, the down part of the market cycle, or it was really a long flat part, we were in that for a much longer time than this 1 to 3 years as well. So it makes sense that our way up is a lot longer too. And again, the reason why I'm not, and I have gone through stages where I've been like, gosh, the market's about to change at any moment. One of the big things that I'm focused on when I'm looking at where we are in the marketplace is months of inventory. And we talked about months of inventory as a whole, but when you're looking at months of inventory, you need to look at months of inventory based on every single project you do. Because the asset classes that we're investing in, what we're doing for the most part is we're taking properties that have values in the $200,000 range, and we're improving them to properties that have values in the $700,000 range. But when I give you the average months of inventory, that's for the middle of the road house. You need to look at the months of inventory and the days on market for the asset class that you are going to be creating, that price point that you're going to be creating in the future. Don't just look at it in the average. So the market cycle for the lower end properties, they usually have a longer up. And the market cycles for the higher end properties usually have a shorter up cycle. Remember how I said the condos are the canary in the coal mine? The condos are the last market segment to go up, but they're the first to go down. The high-end houses are also the last market segment to go up and the first market segment to go down. Hey, Graham, can you stay in here with me just for a second? Guys, is there anyone in here who is specifically and or only interested in commercial real estate? Anybody who is specifically and or only interested in commercial real estate? And is there anyone in here who's interested in commercial multifamily but has not signed up for membership already? Okay, you too? Is that right? Then you can step outside, and Graham's going to talk to you about some options about getting some additional training on commercial multifamily as well. And he'll talk to you right now, if that's okay. Yeah? Graham, will you wave your hands? Hey, yeah. All right, yeah. All right, guys, so some of the strategies specifically that we'll talk about tonight. So we're going to want to make sure we take the time to go over a lot of them just so we can, again, open your eyes. And I know Phil went through this a lot during his presentation, talking about the different strategies that we use to make sure that we can make money whenever the phone rings. Because we see a lot of investors who can't make a real living as a real estate investor because they're only using one strategy. And for us, we use multiple strategies because, again, we want to make money whenever the phone rings. Wholesaling, even though we are successful real estate investors, from time to time, we still wholesale properties. We wholesale properties that maybe don't fit what we do, don't fit the area that we like to invest in, or maybe houses that have some other issues that are not solvable. So I'll tell you, from time to time, I'll get an investor who will tell me, "Gosh, this property will easily sell for $350,000." And I say, "You know what? I think you're right. I think this property could definitely sell for $350,000." If you move the highway that it backs up against, right? Or move the house. I mean, either one, right? So it's funny. So there are some houses where we can go in and we can repair and remodel everything, but if we can't pick it up and move it, then this is going to be a house that's going to be an issue. Now, again, when the market's going up, every house sells. When the market's going down, and this is what you want to be careful of, and as the market kind of hits that inflection point, those hard to sell properties, the ones that back up to highways, the ones that back up to commercial or apartment, duplexes, or on streets with just a yellow line in it, that's going to reduce your ARV at the end of the day. And usually, as real estate investors, guess which properties we get? We get a lot of those, right? That's kind of our bread and butter. But we have to be able to analyze it correctly, and we have to understand the impact of that, right? So again, it's not just the days on market, it's not just the months of inventory, but what are the days on market and the months of inventory for houses that are in that exact particular situation? So that's something you want to understand. So for us, occasionally we might sell some oddball houses, right? And usually we get to sell at a premium. What's interesting about wholesaling today, and this is what happens when the market gets incredibly hot. So as a real estate investor, we make our money on the buy. You make your money on the buy. If you buy it right and you fix it right, you will get your money back plus a profit on the sell. Okay? What's interesting, and we buy from motivated sellers, right? What's interesting about this market where we are right now is we have a ton of not just motivated sellers, but we have actually even more right now, motivated buyers. What does that mean? Investors who are not doing a lot of marketing, who are kind of like grabbing everywhere for a deal, and who are saying like, this is not really the numbers, but I'll do some of the work myself. I'm going to sharpen my pencil, and I'm going to see if I can get that higher ARV, or I'm going to see if I do get some of this down, or I'm going to see if I can compress this. That means that once you start saying those sorts of words to yourself, that means you've become a motivated buyer. Right now, wholesalers are getting incredible premiums because there are so many motivated buyers. Like, I have properties today where I look at and say, if I take this property all the way, I could make $60,000. But I have a list of motivated buyers. I could sell it today for $40,000. Or I could hold it and finish it, and then in 5 to 6 months get $60,000. What are you going to do? In many cases, you might decide to sell to the motivated buyer, right? Especially if what? Especially if you are capital constrained, okay? I talked to an investor yesterday, and he scared the crap out of me, and I'll tell you what he said. He said both something that excited me and something that made me a little jealous, but I also knew I could pick up from the context clues. I knew he was a little out of control. He said, Shanoa, right now I've got 13 projects going on right now, and they're all great projects. The trouble, Shanoa, is, what's the trouble? I'm running out of money. I'm running out of money because of the debt service on all of the existing properties he has, plus all of the renovation expense on all the existing properties he has, plus being new at this, new-ish at this, and not managing those cash flows correctly and not forecasting into the future. So basically getting himself into a lot of trouble. So what that means is, yes, you have 13 projects. Way to go. Congratulations. But guess what? They're all half finished and you're out of money. That's a real thing. So you see people who are good at getting properties. You see people who are good at getting properties under contract. You see people who are good at getting some initial capital and saying, oh, I only need this amount of money, but they're not good at forecasting their cash flows, and they get themselves into a very difficult situation. And I'll tell you, there is no more wild card of a motivated seller than an investor who is a motivated seller. That is a very special and unique breed, I can tell you that much right now. But you know, so he's asking me, you know, hey, can I borrow $260,000 so I can finish all these projects? And I'm like, well, have you had an accountant create your statement of cash flows and done a cash flow forecast for you? Well, no, haven't done that. Well, great. So I'm going to give you $260 and you're going to get 13 projects 3/4 of the way done. That sounds brilliant. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Right? But he has a great skill. He has an incredible skill, but he doesn't have all the business skills. You guys have probably heard this. Some of the worst business people, and I'm sure there's a doctor or a dentist or a chiropractor in here. Is there? How many of you guys, I'm sorry. Can you just,
I'm not easily offended.
You're not easily offended. Then you haven't been here long enough. No. And you probably know a lot of doctors, dentists, or chiropractors who are great and very passionate about what they do, but they cannot run a business. And they get themselves into a lot of trouble, right? So he has a great gift, finding properties, putting them under contract, getting the initial funding, and closing on them. But the gift that he does not have is managing a business, which is what he has created, unbeknownst to him, right? So this is something that you have to be aware of as a real estate investor. That's why even me, like, I've got a lot of money, but from time to time, I know I need to wholesale because I know I need that cash to fund all of the other projects that I have going. Does that make sense to you guys? So there are going to be certain situations where, yeah, I could love to be long-term greedy and get that 60, but I got that 40 today, and that 40 is going to help me finish out some of these other projects. Now, I'm gonna ask you guys. I'm gonna give you guys a quote. Maybe one of you guys can tell me who said this. My project came in on time and on budget. Who said that? Said no one. Ever. Right? So do things happen to you on these projects as you get started? You start opening up walls that like, oh crap, this is going to cost me another $5,000 to start, right? So this is why on occasion, even successful investors will go ahead and wholesale out their deals. Another strategy we like to use, buying subject to. So for us, no matter what strategy we end up using, anytime someone brings me a deal, anytime, many of you guys in here have brought me deals, the first question I always ask is, well, can I get it subject to? Can I buy it subject to the seller's existing financing? So Phil, I think, explained it a little bit in his presentation, but what happens is the general warranty deed, what says who owns the property, transfers from seller to me. What does not transfer, or does not get paid off, is the note and the deed of trust that the original seller got at the time that they purchased the property. My attorney creates what's called a wraparound mortgage, which gives the seller the exact same rights that Wells Fargo got when Wells Fargo gave that seller the lien. So now that I have it, I'm buying it on a wraparound mortgage from the seller. Now, if I stop making payments, the seller can foreclose on me in the exact same way that Wells Fargo could foreclose on the seller if the seller stopped making their payments. Does that make sense to everybody? So for me, this is a great way to buy properties with little or no money down. So the average price in Austin, Texas, city of Austin, like $450,000. You guys all remember that? Man, do you want to bring $450,000 to the closing table, or do you just want to take over payments on someone else's existing mortgage? This would be the interactive part. Okay, good. Some of you guys are awesome. That's good. But I mean, the truth is, so that's a half truth that I told you. The truth is, usually when we're buying a property from a motivated seller subject to, their motivation is that they are behind on payments. So the truth is, almost in every case, especially for the ones that have a lot of equity in it, we're bringing money to reinstate that loan. So you do have to have that kind of money to be able to reinstate that loan in many of the cases. There are other cases where you don't, but the ones with the big equity, you do. So regarding the legislative update, so what I love about Texas, and for those of you guys who are new to Texas, what you will grow to love about Texas is our legislators, they only meet to screw things up every other year, which is like awesome, right? And you know, it's funny, like everyone says like, oh, they're in gridlock, and I'm like, yes, that means they're not doing anything to screw us up, right? But in Texas, we only meet every. Unfortunately, we just met last year. So the update is this, guys. When you are wholesaling a property, you have to put in place the proper disclosures, and some of the proper disclosures are going to seem very it seems very obvious. Like, so I'm wholesaling a property to you, Mark. Mark, do you think that I actually own this property? It's a real question. You do? Matthew, let me try this again. Dang it. Matthew, I'm wholesaling a property to you. Do you think I actually own that property? No. By nature of using the word wholesale, right? That means to me that the person who's trying to give it to me does not own this property, right? So they have it under contract with somebody else. But I mean, Mark, thank you for saying that, because you're the whole reason why they changed this law. So now I found the one guy. So they changed it to make sure that everyone is aware that you know when I'm wholesaling a property that I don't actually own it. So I have to disclose to you, I do not own this property. I have to disclose to you that I'm selling not the property, I'm selling my equitable interest in the property, meaning I'm selling my contract, okay? So you can't advertise it as, hey, I'm wholesaling, I've got a property under contract, would you like to buy it? No. Even though it sounds obvious to a lot of people, you have to disclose, I don't own this property, and I'm only selling my contract. These two things will keep you from running afoul with TREC. TREC is the Texas Real Estate Commission. TREC is the licensing board for realtors, brokers, inspectors, and I think appraisers. So what that means is TREC wants to make sure that you guys are not running around without a license, acting like you have a license, okay? This is one of the big things that the law was designed to protect. So make sure when you are wholesaling something, and there was a guy in here earlier who said I was getting a lot of stuff off of the internet, and he was sitting right here. Is that guy still here? Who's sitting right here? Okay, he's gone. This is going to cost him a lot of money because he left. I'm just saying, but all of you guys are going to be totally on it. So he says, yeah, I'm listening all this stuff online, I'm listening to all these podcasts, and somebody else said, I'm getting all this stuff from Bigger Pockets, and I think that was you guys, the Bigger Pockets guys, yeah. And I said, real estate is local, right? And I said, what a lot of the folks that are I'm not just, it's not to say that they're all wrong, and again, the internet knows everything, but there's a fair amount of ridiculousness spread in there, and you just don't know which one it is if you're getting all your stuff online. That's why it's important to be local. That's why it's important to be part of a real estate investor association, who will give you the legislative updates. And I'll give you some more as we go through, because we took a group of real estate investors down to the Capitol this past legislative session to make sure that we could continue to do some of the things that we do, specifically the wraparound mortgage, to make sure that they kept that. They did write some new laws for it that made some changes for us, but it still allowed us to continue to do this. So when you're listening to some of these different podcasts and then all this information about the off the internet, they're going to give you like, oh yeah, just get a, and I used to say this too, just get a wholesale agreement from anywhere. There's 1,000 of them online. Now I have to say, yeah, get one of those, but also be prepared to edit it and write in there that, again, I do not own this property and I'm only selling my contract, okay? That's not something you're going to find when you're Googling stuff online. It's only going to find from a group that's actually plugged in. If you want more information about that, you can go to the Trek website. Just Google Trek and you can get that entire little article there. Yes, sir?
You don't have to be a broker.
You do not have to be a broker to wholesale property?
Right.
No, you don't.
That's
Yeah.
have you heard about Ohio? They're cracking down on people saying that people are wholesaling.
Oh, they're saying they're brokering the deal.
They're brokering the
Yeah,
deal.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
They're
yeah.
starting to find
Yes,
people.
yeah. And Trek will find you, and Trek will find you. How many realtors in the room? Any realtors? Yeah, so Trek will find you, and Trek will find and find. As soon as we use those interchangeably, right? Yes, sir.
Has Trek changed any of the wording in the contracts? Or?
Oh, the Trek contract is perfect. It's the assignment agreement that has changed. And Trek does not make an assignment agreement. Oh, yes. You guys see where there's like, we're just going to put a big pothole, we're going to put it right there. And we're going to just see how many people fall into it, right? Because they're getting the information off of the internet, right? So let's see, some other strategies we'll talk about. Rehabbing, fixing, and flipping. Again, in these up markets, we want to take on those big projects because these big projects are usually the ones that have some of the biggest paydays on it. Obviously, on the big projects, you're putting a lot of money in. I will tell you, and we've got hard money lenders here tonight, they're dying to fund your deal. And they will work with you to be able to put together the capital. They will also look at your deals. Anybody here want free coaching, free mentoring, free advice? Yeah, did you hear what she said when she announced it? She said, we will look at your deal and tell you whether or not you have a deal. I see too many investors who become motivated buyers, and they just stop seeing straight. It's like they're in a fog, and they just want to do that first deal. No, they don't want you to be in a fog because they don't want to ultimately foreclose on you. They want to lend money, they want to get interest, they want to get points, they want to get their money back so they can get interest and points again. They want to make sure you actually have a deal. And guys, I will say this. If someone comes to you, how does this sound, Mark, to you? Got a great deal, Mark. Here's the property. Here are the comps, the other houses on the market that are selling. Here's the repair estimate. Would you like to buy this deal? How does that sound to you guys? The numbers say, this is a 70% of ARV managed repair deal. Does that sound good? If the person who is making money off of you is also giving you all the data that you need to make a decision, get your own data. Yeah. It sounds, to me, it's like, oh man, I can just start my HGTV episode like right now? That sounds awesome, right? It does sound awesome. Somebody gave me a deal. They show me the comps, right? Yeah, they show you 3. When I get into the MLS, because I'm a realtor broker, no, I'll look at all 33, right? And they'll only cherry pick. And then some of the repair estimates, I think I saw replace all the windows in the house, $3,000. What? No, huh? Is it? Maybe if you're getting the windows that fell off of a truck in Laredo, maybe. But no, that's just not real life. So guys, I'll just caution you, please be careful. There are plenty of people out there who will say, I need a $5,000 non-refundable deposit. Here's all your data to make a decision. First person who writes me a check before I can even finish my sentence, they get that property. It's a motivated buyer. If you take it to anyone who has access to the MLS or anyone who's done a remodel or the hard money lender, they're going to take a look at that and they're going to say, and I'm sure you guys see deals from a lot of different wholesalers and you're like, oh, it's from this wholesaler. I don't even want to look at it because I already know it's not a deal. Is that correct? Yes. They don't want to say, but I'll say. Yeah, they said it. Thank you. So buy and hold. For us, and we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the meeting, We love to keep properties for the long term. That has been the biggest differentiator for us in terms of building our wealth. All of those properties that we've kept and we've held. I am very long-term greedy, so I'm willing to make short-term sacrifices to get those long-term wins. And when I describe my my buy and hold strategy, I always liken it to the Bluebell ice cream philosophy or their slogan, which is we eat all we can and we sell the rest. So for me, I want to keep as many properties as I possibly can, and I want to just sell enough to fund my lifestyle, right? But after that, I want to hold everything because I don't want to give the government 37% or whatever the new tax rate is. So for us, we look for properties with appreciation. We don't necessarily look for cash flow per se. We'll take cash flow. Everyone wants cash flow. When you guys hire a contractor, there's usually three things you want from that contractor. You want good, you want fast, and you want cheap. Pick two, right? When you buy a rental property, you want cash flow and you want appreciation. Pick one, okay? Now you can get a lot of cash flow if you're under leveraged, meaning I get $2,000 a month in cash flow. Yeah, it's because you paid all cash for it. So that means you can only get one property that's going up in value for you, as opposed to putting money down on multiple properties and having those multiple properties go up in value for you. So that's how we think about it, and that's how we look at it. If we want to generate cash flow, we're going to use one of the other strategies that generates an income for us specifically. Some other strategies, short sales. This is not a market for short sales for the most part. But opportunistically, they will come up. And the situations for me that I like to do short sales in are the situations where the houses need a ton of work. Because the house only needs like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 worth of work. That means it's still a candidate for a regular retail buyer who's bringing a regular retail loan. I don't want to compete with regular retail buyers because I can't make money paying full price for a house. But if the house is destroyed, there's no kitchen, there's no air conditioning and heating, there's no water heater, there's no flooring, that house is not going to get a traditional loan. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, all these banks are going to pass on it for the regular traditional buyer, which means the only buyer out there for that particular property is who? Investors. And investors, when we're investing to make money. We're usually the cash buyers that are out there, right? So we will take a chance on it, but we will take a chance on it as long as we can make some profit in it. So the short sales that are like perfect houses or brand new houses, yeah, you're usually not going to make money as a real estate investor, or very little money as a real estate investor on those deals, unless you are also a realtor and or a broker who is listing that property, so at least you get the commission, right? But if it needs a lot of work, then there's a lot of opportunity for you to make money as a real estate investor. Foreclosure auctions. You see a little asterisk there. For us, we always like to buy off of the pre-foreclosure list. So these are houses that are going to auction during the next cycle. We don't like to wait until they actually get to the auction. Because when they actually get to the auction, yeah, you've got 25 of your best buddies who just left the local real estate meeting who go down there to go and buy that property. In fact, one of our meetings, our alternate meeting is on the first Tuesday of the month. So we see everybody, this is their getting back from the auction, right? But you want to buy before it goes to auction. You want to get that inside track. And for us, that's been a great way for us to make money and just get there before other people do. I will say when you buy before auction, you get to take it through a regular title search. You get to get a regular title commitment. You get title insurance. That way, someone is professionally doing the research for you on the back end to make sure that your investment is okay. When you're buying at auction, unless you have, again, someone who is professionally doing that for you, you are taking risk as a real estate investor, and the risk is that you miss something in the title search. I have seen brand new investors who got a lot of great information off of the internet who have accidentally bought a second lien thinking that the first lien was going to be extinguished at auction. And even you guys know that that is not the case. But not everybody knows that. So if you're just grabbing a little bit of information here and there, you think, oh, well, all liens are extinguished in the auction process. No, that's absolutely not the case, especially if that was a second lien. There are IRS liens that don't always get extinguished. And the other issue is when you are buying a property at auction and you're buying that in December, so you're buying it at the December 2nd auction, and you only own that property for the month of December, for example, in 2017, how much do you owe in property taxes? The whole year. So as you get further into the year, the cost of the acquisition costs actually go up because that tax bill gets written out to YOU for the entire year. Did they teach you that in the thing right there? Yeah, they did. A little bit, yeah. And sometimes, so you always need to check. Sometimes it's not just the current year. Sometimes it's prior years too if it has not been paid. Let's see some other strategies for you guys. Wraparound mortgages. So this is kind of the art of buying subject to, except when we're doing a wrap specifically, in this particular example that I want to give, we're finding no equity sellers. We're finding sellers that owe $200 and their house is worth $200. So the opportunity for us as a real estate investor when someone owes $200 is worth $200, like you just can't get off the phone fast enough unless you have a strategy. And that strategy that we use when someone has a house owes $200, worth $200, is we find a buyer who has a good down payment. We find a buyer who can afford the monthly payment, but has maybe had some hiccup in their past, whether it's a bankruptcy or foreclosure. And my guess is, like I always joke, and now you guys are here, so I don't think anybody left California between 2004 and 2010 without either a bankruptcy, a foreclosure, or a short sale on their record. I mean, I'm sure you know countless people. Countless people. So there's good people who are making good money who, like, something like an earthquake happened, like, on their house in the form of the value went from here to here, right? So those are good people who make good money who can put a big down payment on, but just because of where they are right now, can't get a loan. They're also, so they're the immigrants from California, but they're also the immigrants from Mexico who come here and work their asses off, and they have a lot of mattress money, right? So they have a down payment, but they may not have a social security number, they may not have an I-10 number, but they're making tons of money, as witnessed by the enormous dually truck that they just rolled up in, right? So they have the money to put a down payment on and take over payments, and they otherwise could not get a house financed to them. But this is a way to unlock some buying power from people who are coming here to work their butts off and have those big down payments. You guys follow how that works, yeah? Lease options. So some of you guys have probably read about lease options being a strategy to buy and sell houses online. In lease options, in Texas, they're what we call functionally illegal, or it's kind of like a fool's errand. Basically, like, I'll give you $1 million if you fly across the room and get a beer. That's, yeah, you can do that, right? It's a fool's errand. It's like no one can do that. The way it's become a fool's errand in Texas as a result of the 2005 lease option law changes to the Texas Property Code is they have said you can do a lease option still today, but now the lease options have to be executed, meaning the purchase on that needs to be done in 180 days or less. Historically, the reason why we as real estate investors have used the lease option strategy is because the tenant buyer did not have their credit in order and or did not have a down payment in order and or both of those things. So we would create these lease options, and usually these lease options were 3 to 5 year lease options where they would give you a small down payment, or a down payment somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000. They would take over the payments on the existing mortgage, and in 3 to 5 years, when they got their credit and everything else in order, then they would refinance the house. So making it, yes, you can do it, but now you have to do it in 180 days is like saying, I'll give you $1 million if you fly across the room. It's not really an option anymore. But what we use in lieu of the lease option strategy is the AMP strategy, or the wraparound mortgage strategy, where we have a seller with little or no negative equity, and we find a buyer who can afford a down payment as well as afford the regular monthly payment. If you want more information about lease options, attorney David Willis, he's based in Houston, but he's so prolific in his writings and explanations about just different strategies that work specifically in Texas. He's a great resource for all of you guys. Yes, sir.
Are the rent-to-own and lease purchases included in that same
Rent-to-own
category?
equals lease purchase. Yes, that's all
And
the
lease
same.
purchases
Yeah.
equals lease
Yes,
purchases.
yeah.
It's just a
And
different
I
name
see
than
some
payment.
people say, well, I'm just going to stack these lease options, so I'll do a new one every 6 months. Guys, it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and you are in front of a jury of your peers, and by peers I mean the peers that could not figure out a way to get out of jury duty. Yeah, it's not going to work out well for you. So, let's get through this. So some of the different strategies, equity partnering. Again, this is a great way to make a deal work with any equity, or as long as it has equity. And basically what you're doing, and the times that I use this strategy specifically, is a lot of times when we go and talk to a seller, the seller has several appointments right after us. And we're all using the same calculator, and we're all coming in doing the same math and using roughly about a 70% of ARV managed repairs formula, okay? But if I know someone's coming in right after me, one of the things that I will try to do is I will try to partner with the seller on some of the profits on the back end. That way I don't have to increase my price. Because if I just simply increase my price, I'm risk shifting all to me as the investor. But if I keep my price the same, but then offer to split profits in the future, then I'm now risk shifting to the seller. Do you guys follow that? And it is about risk as a real estate investor. So I'm saying I cannot acquire it for anything less than this, but I'm willing to give away some of the profits if I can at least, because as a real estate investor, you make your money on the
Purchase.
on the buy. Yes, some of you guys are totally following along. This is so awesome. Yes, you make your money on the buy, right? You get your money on the sell. I'd be willing to split a $60,000 payday with a seller as long as I was guaranteed that I would get that 60 and have something to split. But if I'm just instead increasing my price because I've got other people on my heels, then I may not get that. I'm not making my money on the buy anymore. Now I'm still hoping that the market stays where it's going and I get that money on the sell. So you guys, this is kind of a simplified explanation. And Phil's going to go through this in a lot more detail as he does the training as well. I have something written here. I should not have written it like this. I apologize. This is listing referrals. Realtors by Trek law can only pay a listing referral of $50. Congratulations. Don't spend it all in one place, right? Yeah? What I should have written here is marketing fees, okay? Realtors can pay marketing fees all day long. Many investors are marketing companies to realtors. You can sell leads to realtors and the price is not dictated by Trek. This is important to understand. Everybody got that? Marketing fees, Some marketing strategies we use in that market, and Phil talked a lot about these. We have strategies that require no money, and we have strategies that require big money. So guys, if you are not working, but you have a lot of time, you're going to use these strategies. If you are working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, you have a lot of money, but you have no time, you're going to solve the marketing problem by throwing money at the marketing problem. Both strategies work very well. but you do have to put something in to be able to get something out. Valuing property in an up market. Again, you make your money. You make your money on the buy. For us, we use what we call the Investor Maximum Allowable Offer Formula, or the MAO formula, which is 70% of the ARV minus repairs. So, for example, if your ARV is $200,000, 200,000 times 70% is $140,000. That's your starting point. From there, you take off whatever repairs are needed on that property. So if you need $30,000 in repairs, then your maximum allowable offer is 200,000 times 70%, which is 140 minus the 30, means your maximum allowable offer is $110,000. Everybody got that? How much do you make in profit on a $200,000 house that needs $30,000 in repairs, where you're offering $110,000? 60 is a world of no closing costs on the buy, is a world of no holding costs throughout the time that you have it, is a world where you have no closing costs when you go to resell it. How much do you really make? Usually about 10 to 15%. If you have a hard money loan, you're going to look closer to about 10%. If you have a zero cost of capital, you might make somewhere between 15 and 18%, okay? If you're somewhere in between, yeah, you're somewhere in between. I will say that 10 to 15% profit is based on you nailing your ARV, and it's also based on you nailing your repair costs. Now, what was the quote we used on that? My budget came in on time and on budget, or my project came in on time and on budget, so no one ever. Yeah, stuff happens, right? That's why. Is 10%? Is that like, man, I'm risking $140,000 to make 20? That's pretty typical, guys. That's pretty typical. So remember, when you're negotiating up from that maximum allowable offer formula, don't negotiate the purchase price, negotiate your profit. If you negotiate purchase price, you're negotiating big numbers. But if you negotiate your little $20,000 profit, you're negotiating little numbers. You guys follow that? For us, we don't stray from our formula unless the market's going up. It's in a great area. There are things to look out for. Again, busy streets, trains, that sort of thing. We will pay a little bit more if it'll sell quickly, meaning low days on market and low months of inventory for that particular price that asset class. If it's a great layout, great street appeal, great street, we'll also pay a little bit more if there are no complex repairs. What does that mean? Foundation, right? When you're doing foundation, sometimes you break the plumbing. When you're doing plumbing, sometimes, well, yeah. And plumbing under the slab, and especially for you guys who are new to Texas, man, let me tell you something. We don't have basements here, okay? And so what that means is you are either jackhammering through the slab at roughly $100 per linear foot. Congratulations, that's a $20,000 bill on most houses. Or that means you're tunneling underneath the slab at actually a cost of more than $100 per linear foot, because did I mention you're tunneling underneath the slab, right? So those are ones where it's like, man, you thought it was going to be this going in, but then there was some sort of a surprise. This is one of the big things that surprise a lot of new investors, especially in Central Texas, where houses, any house is suspect that was built before 1980 in terms of are those drain lines underneath the slab, are they in good condition? Every house built before 1980 is suspect, which means you need to get a drain line test to make sure you do not get yourself into a $20,000 bill. And when I say $20,000 bill, is this hyperbole? Has anybody done one of these? Knows what I'm talking about? That sucks. Right? And when it doesn't suck when it's planned, it sucks when it's a surprise, right? So be sure to go through that so it's not a surprise to you guys. And we'll pay a little bit more when you get owner financing on a deal. Negotiating an up market, you do have to realize, or an up market or down market, the seller's always 6 months behind where the market really is today. Now, when the market's going up, for the most part, that serves you well. But when the market's in its inflection point and starts to go down, that's an uphill battle, because the seller's always going to say this, and I quote, well, the neighbor across the street just sold their house 6 months ago. Well, 6 months ago was a completely different market, right? Now houses in your neighborhood are not selling because all these investors came in and overbuilt, or your builder overbuilt, and now it's pandemonium in here. So do be aware of that as well. Power team members that you need to make sure you have a successful business, and guys, I'm almost done, so I'll let you go very shortly. Lenders, we've got these folks as part of the association. We've got a ton of realtors and brokers as part of the association, contractors part of the association, other investors, bird dogs, mentors, coaches, advisors, insurance agents, specialists who can deal with your particular seller situation, CPA, marketing resources, bankers, brokers, and a lot more. But here's what I want you guys to look for and look out for in that market. Guys, Trek will get any realtor who is doing things that are unethical. We don't have a TREC, a Texas Real Estate Commission, for investors. For investors, it is the wild, wild west. So you make your money on the buy. You've got to do your due diligence, right? You've got to get other eyes on these deals to make sure that it is actually a deal. So do also be aware of non-refundable deposits. When some of these companies say it's a non-refundable deposit, let me explain to you what they mean by that. They mean you are not getting your money back under any circumstances, ever, now, or never. Yes? Like, I've tried, believe me, because I had people come up to me and say, oh, look, I got this deal, and I'm like, oh, boy. And I've tried, and it means never, ever. So be aware of that. Be a student of the market. One of the things that we are committed to as part of this association is every single month we do a new market update. That's why a lot of our members continue to come back over and over again just to kind of see where we are and see where we're going. Be a student of the market, look out for signs of changes, and adjust your strategy based on days on market, months of inventory, risk, employment factors. There's so many different things that you need to look out for to make sure, because again, you don't skate where the puck is, you skate where the puck is going, and the market is always shifting and changing, right? So very quickly, I'll talk through some of the tax reform highlights. And again, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a CPA, but I have read through these things with my accountant, with my CPA. One of the big things, which is nice, the capital gains tax is unchanged. So the highest rate is still that 20% rate. Now there is one section of the capital gains tax that is unclear at this point, and that is the 3.8% Obama Fair Healthcare additional tax that was put on there. But since they basically completely repealed Obamacare and the healthcare mandate, I'm thinking that 3.8% is going to go away, but that was one thing that was not struck as part of the new changes that came out. The homestead deduction, probably one of my favorite ones as a real estate investor and as a homeowner in general, where if you are married, you can write off up to, or not write off, you do not have to pay income taxes or even capital gains on the first $500,000 in profit, as long as that property was your homestead for the last 2 years, and as long as you haven't sold another homestead in the last 2 years, you get to write up to, you get to not pay profit taxes on the profit up to $500,000 for married and up to $250,000 for a single. So that's huge that that's still in effect. Some other good news: the maximum tax rate drops from 39.6% to 37%, and the tax brackets change too. So before, and again, don't quote me on this, before, to be in that 39.6%, you have to make at least $420,000. Now, to be in that new highest tax bracket, which is 37%, I think you have to make at least $500,000. So that helps if you're in those tax brackets. Alternative minimum tax exemptions amount increased but also to phase out of getting out of that alternative tax increase as well. Standard deductions that you can take off on your tax return was $12,000, now it's $24,000, so that's a plus for everybody. One thing that's not a big plus, and I know a lot of people who, as a result of this, paid their property taxes in 2017 instead of waiting until January 31st of 2018. So it used to be, I'm almost done, guys. It used to be if you had a $40,000 tax bill, for example, on your primary residence because you had a very expensive primary residence, you were able to write off that property tax bill. So now they've changed it to have the maximum deduction be only $10,000. So what does that mean for all of those states like California and New York? Where are they going to be coming to? They're going to move here for sure. Yeah, so they already started it with kind of kicking people out with the millionaire's tax in California, and now they're just that was a state tax, and now from a federal level they're saying, yeah, if you've got a big expensive house, you cannot write off as all of those any property taxes above that $10,000 amount. Yeah. Let's see, interest on a HELOC, this one is a sad one for us. So interest on HELOCs no longer deductible. They did double the estate, gift, and generational something tax, generational skipping tax exemption from $5.6 million to $11.2 million. So if you have a rich relative that dies, I hope they died after 2018 and not in 2017. Home equity line of credit, home equity line of credit. And then the individual health insurance mandate is repealed, so now you no longer have to, as part of your tax return, prove that you have health insurance or pay the fines that are associated with that. So that's kind of the summary for tonight. And I've got a group with lots of babies at home, so I'm going to call the meeting. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. We look forward to seeing you at our training event. Thank you guys all for coming and being members, and we'll see you soon. Woo!